Hi everybody and welcome back. My name's Melissa and this year I'm sharing 365 tips for frugal living. Today's tip is consider traveling in bulk. I know that's kind of like a weird thing to say, right? But my most expensive trips, at least on a per day basis for sure, have been trips that are short. I spent over $1,000 going to my brother's wedding. That was just driving down, hotels there. It doesn't even count the theme parks that my kid went to on the way, um, and the hotel room that my dad paid for all of us. Like he paid for each of us the night before the wedding, and then um, I didn't go on the cruise at the time. I was in very poor health, and so it really just wasn't a good choice. So for essentially a 2 hour wedding, I spent like $1,000. Granted, like I stayed at my parents' house for like a week while my kid went on the cruise with my brothers, but it was really expensive. However, that I essentially went down for, I mean, for me, it was like 2 days. I was originally going to go camping, but then the tent that I'd ordered didn't arrive. It was a huge mess. But if I'd been able to go camping and everything, then it would have been worth it because I could have spent time in the Everglades in Miami and stuff. But tent didn't arrive, and then by the time it did arrive, it was a mess. So, long story short, very expensive for a very short amount of time, essentially. However, I also spent 6 weeks, traveling out west. We did 23 states, 30 national parks, and I managed to do it for, I'm trying to think, it was less than $3,000, but I don't remember how much it was exactly. You're probably like, how the heck did you do that? It actually ended up being more expensive than I had originally planned. Or maybe it was around 3,000 because, okay, so I had my kid was 8. Yeah, 8. I had the Dodge Grand Caravan. My kid was in 4th grade, so we got into all of the national parks for free. Because if you don't know this, 4th graders and their families get to, well, at least they used to, Lord only knows what now, right? Get into the national parks for free. That doesn't include camping, but it does include entrance. So they can go in, see the park. It's a really cool thing. It's because it's like the whole like every kid in a park thing. It's really really nice. So that year when I found out about it, and he ended up with like 3 of them because I got him a pass, and then he went on 2 different field trips in 4th grade where the teachers got him passes. He went to Ding Darling, and that's on Sanibel Island. And then I think maybe when we went to St. Augustine, I don't remember. But he ended up with like 2 or 3 of the cards. So we had no admission to national parks. I did have to pay for gas. It was 2017. So I want to say it was around 3-ish a gallon. So, except for in California, parts of California range from like 4 to 5 or 6. Like as you got into like some of like the national parks and stuff, you're like $6, $7 a gallon. But that's also, you're in the mountains. It's a national park. It's a lot. So, yeah. But okay, so I had a Dodge Grand Caravan that has the stow and go seats. So we set it up so that we could essentially live in the van, and lived in the van for 6 weeks. And I loved my van. I miss my Dodge Grand Caravan. It was a 2010 Dodge Grand Caravan. I put like stickers of everywhere we went on like the back windows. I loved it. And everybody thought it was so cool, except for my dad, who thought it was stupid. He's like, you're ruining the resale value of your van. I ended up junking it. That's a whole other story. I wish I hadn't. I wish that I just paid to have the trans replaced or whatever it was. I can't remember. It was something had broken, and then I listened to somebody and tried to do something that they said would work, and it didn't. And then instead of being like a $600 to $800 thing, it was like a $3,000 repair. So it was a mess. Anyways, loved that van. So I set it up so that I could camp in the van. We had my kid was only 8, so like sleeping next to me wasn't weird at that point because he was still young enough. I mean, now he's a teenager, and even if it wasn't like, okay, that's just too much, like not enough space. He's big now. Like he's taller than me, so no longer itty bitty. But we had like all the kitchen stuff set up in the back, and we would like cover the windows, and then we had a mattress that actually, it's my kid loves this mattress so much. He put it on the floor. So when we got rid of his sleeper sofa bed thing, and I was like, do we want to get, do you want a loft? Do you want this? Do you want that? And I was like, dude, we have to get, you're gonna like, you're too tall for that couch now. You're never pulling it out. You're sleeping on it as a couch. You're all crooked. You're gonna hurt yourself. So we got rid of that, and I was like, okay, so do you want a bunk bed, a day bed, whatever? I digress. See, I'm like off on a tangent. I don't know what's wrong with me. I always am off on a tangent. Okay, so anyways, back to my point of camping, or of traveling in bulk. So we essentially camped in the van. We did have a tent we could have set up, but we never did. While traveling, plenty of rest areas on the highway. If you don't have kids, Planet Fitness is an excellent resource. You can get a Planet Fitness membership. It used to be like $20 a month where you could go to anyone. I think it's like 25 or 30. But you can then shower at that Planet Fitness. So that's not an issue. And I don't know how it works, but when I had the membership, it was like $20 a month. And then I could get a pass for my kid. This was a couple of years ago. So he could come in as my guest, like unlimited, like every single time. So essentially it was like both of us for $20 a month. But, so I don't know if you can take a guest on other places or whatever, but that's kind of a good thing. But we had a combination of, and I planned it. There were a couple of nights already planned at a hotel. I had the reservations bought, paid for, everything. I can't remember where it was that we're initially planned to be at a hotel no matter what. And then I had campground reservations at several campgrounds in Kings Canyon, which is next to Sequoia, up in the Redwoods, which is Accommodations, California State Park, and National Park, Glacier and Olympic. We had reservations. I'm trying to think where else. Grand Canyon, Rocky Mountain. A lot of the national parks that had camping we did stay in. But then like when we went to, so I took him to San Diego Zoo. And then there is a rest area off of the highway at like Oceanside. So we stayed there, and then we did La Jolla too. And when we went to La Jolla, which is a beach, we were actually able to shower for free at the beach in like their shower facility. So that was also super convenient. So some of the places we showered, obviously campgrounds, beaches. When we were at the Rocky Mountain National Park, we actually had to pay like $7 to shower at someplace else because it was like just a really weird showering situation there. So, baby wipes were a big thing. Just a lot of baby wipes. So we showered like when we had access to a shower, we showered every day. But if we didn't have one immediately, we would like shower every otherish day. So like when we went to Arches, we stayed at a rest area. We didn't actually camp at Arches because we were only there for the day. So a lot of rest areas, and it was free, and you can easily brush your teeth at the rest area, go to the bathroom, all of that. So super convenient. I mean, showering was the big challenge, but my kid went to 23 states. We went to 30 national parks. We went to we did spend money on some stuff. We went to San Diego Zoo. We went to, I think, Belmont Park. Maybe it's in like the San Diego area, and they had like the roller coaster. My kid would know. They had a roller coaster there that they went on. They had like zip line and rock wall and all sorts of things. So it was definitely fun. And then, you know, some other things like that. I didn't count any food that I bought at a grocery store because my kid likes to eat whether we are on vacation or whether we are at home. He likes to eat every day. So if I am cooking at a campground versus cooking at home, like no matter what, that's still an expense I'm going to have. And ironically, some of the places I went grocery shopping were cheaper because at the time Florida still didn't have an Aldi. So it was just Publix and Winn-Dixie. And as much as Aldi will absolutely manipulate markets, they do force the market to lower because they bring in competition. So that's the good thing about them. But Florida groceries are so expensive. You know, I mean, I remember a gallon of milk was like $2 in Illinois, $4 in Florida, $6 in Maui. So pretty expensive considering. I mean, and you figure Maui has a lot more expense to get their stuff. So, a lot of places where I would get groceries were cheaper. We did go out to eat more than usual, so I did include that in. And then we stayed at a hotel on average once a week. Originally, we weren't going to, but then I ended up, I can't remember what happened, and we ended up having to stay at a hotel for something. And then maybe it was like a first come, first serve campground situation. And they were all booked up, so there was no rest area, and we stayed in a hotel. I can't remember what it was, but stayed in a hotel like 2 or 3 weeks in and did all of my laundry at the hotel. And I figured out that at the time, Comfort in or Choice Hotels or whatever had this like stay 2 nights, get 1 night free because they'd like bulk up your points. And so because I got a discount on the laundry to use like their laundry facilities and stuff, and then I had like the shower there and everything. And the other convenient thing is that I could just go like back and forth, and I could leave my kid in the hotel room. I always got a room like that was a few doors down from the laundry, so that I could leave him there. He could watch TV or whatever, watch cartoons, and I could, you know, run back and forth to do the laundry, and it was more relaxed, and we could shower, and it was just a more chill thing. So we stayed in, I think, 7 hotel rooms, but I had already had a free night. And then I earned like a few more free nights, and I actually used those when we went to, where did we go? Oh, we went to see the eclipse in Kentucky in 2017. So we did a huge amount of traveling for about $500 to $600 a week, probably less, but let's say $500 to $600 a week. I mean, like I said, I'm 99% sure I spent less than 3,000, but if we add in like the groceries and stuff from the campground, then we'll say like $500 to $600 a week. I don't think I spent $100 on groceries a week, but so I drove an average of 2,000 miles a week. I drove 12,000 miles total. But the thing is that we went from Florida all the way up to Olympic. And just so you know, we're in like Southwest Florida. So we're in Cape Coral, which is right near Fort Myers. That's where we lived. And then we went up, used the last days on our Universal Pass, and then up through Georgia and continued on our way. But Olympic is Pacific Northwest, Washington Lake, Northwest Washington Lake. So that's like opposite ends of the country. I mean, you can't get much further in the continental United States geographically. But if I had gone out, and granted, I was a teacher at the time, so I did have the opportunity to travel in bulk. But if you are retired, semi-retired, able to work remotely, or have some sort of flexibility, then this can be a great option for you. So I was a teacher, so I had the whole summer. So instead of going 1 year and driving or flying out to California and back, and then driving or flying out to Oregon and back, or driving and flying out to Washington and back, and driving and flying out to Colorado and back, or New Mexico, or Utah, so on and so forth. We chose our highlight spots from each of the states. Spent a lot of time in California because California's like long and it's got a lot, 101 is beautiful. But absolutely loved it. It was one of the best times I have ever had, bar none, one of the best experiences of my life. And I highly recommend it. If you have the ability, convert a minivan and just go. It is so freeing. I mean, that's like the very much so the wanderlust, nomadic nature of me. So by traveling in bulk, by doing it all at once, we had a spectacular vacation. We got to see so much more than we would have if we just, flown out and had a 5 to 7 day trip. So, or if we drove all the way. And I mean, I'm from the Midwest, so I grew up in Illinois. So we could drive almost anywhere because we're right in the middle. So even a drive out to California is only like a couple of days, maybe, not even a day and a half. I mean, because my parents would like switch off driving, so like we wouldn't stop. We'd like stop to eat and go to the bathroom, and that was it. We'd sleep in the car, van, whatever. So consider traveling in bulk because like and for a lot of places, like I really want to go to a lot of different places, South America and Asia and stuff. And there's a lot of places in Central America, South America, Asia that are super affordable. And the biggest expense is the flight there. So You know, the flight there and back is frequently well over 50% of your expense. I mean, including food and travel while you're there and accommodations, and that's assuming you're staying in like nice places. So you can frequently, you know, stay really affordable. So if you're gonna go to I don't know, if you're gonna go to Vietnam, let's say, and you have 6 weeks off, don't go for a week, go for 6 weeks. You know, splurge, spend a little extra in accommodations and stuff, and go. Or go, you know, honestly, go for like 4 or 5 weeks, because you're gonna want that time to recover when you get home, because traveling, like big travel, can be absolutely exhausting, but it's so fun. So today's tip for frugal living is to, if you are able to, consider traveling in bulk. Consider, you know, extending your vacation so that you are only spending that big amount of money once. That way, like, so you're going to Vietnam once, but you're really gonna do a deep dive and really get in there and really get to experience their culture. Or you're gonna go to Ecuador, and you're, you know, I mean, the flight down to South America, Asia, those are expensive and everything, but it's so worth it. And I've never been to Asia. I've never been to South America. I have been to Europe, and I've been to Mexico and the Caribbean on cruises. But highly recommend it. Highly recommend traveling in bulk. I mean, it's just, it's an amazing experience if you can do it. I know it's kind of a weird hobby to have, especially for somebody who's all about being frugal. And maybe that's why. Maybe, like, it's because, like, I will absolutely go without in my day-to-day life if it means that I can save up and do something spectacular. And that's one thing. Like, I bought this place in 2019, and then the pandemic happened, and, like, my whole life just, like, it blew up. It, like, completely just was so horribly wrong. So I lost my van in 2019. I mean, just absolutely miserable. So I haven't done any big travel since. And I mean, you've got to understand, I was always going. Travel was legitimately my hobby. And I did it on a budget. I travel pretty cheap. I'm a frugal traveler, but all of my trips have been for somebody else. None of them have been for me. I've gone and done the theme parks for my kid. I went on a family vacation. I traveled to Florida to go to my brother's wedding. I had like 3 days that I spent in the Everglades. That was the last thing I did for me. So I really miss traveling, and I'm really looking forward to getting back to traveling. And as I'm looking at different options, I'm reminded, travel in bulk. Extend that vacation, see how you can do it. And I admit, I am lucky that right now I'm doing Shipt, and so I can alter my schedule, but there's lots of ways you can do it. Like, get a job where you work a lot of hours at a seasonal place, and then go somewhere else when it's not season. Anyways, again, my name's Melissa, and this year I'm sharing 365 tips for frugal living. If you want to hear more, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.